Hello and welcome to Newsfeed. We continue with our coverage of the ongoing conflict in Gaza. The guns may have fallen silent for 4 days, but pressure grows for Israel to call a permanent ceasefire as the humanitarian situation worsens. Israel may have agreed to a short reprieve for residents in besieged Gaza, but a global boycott against Tel Aviv is showing no signs of slowing down. On the contrary, the pro-Palestine movement, Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions, is ramping up its pressure campaign. It's calling for a global day of action this Wednesday on November the 29th, which falls on the UN-organized International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. BDS is calling for peaceful disruptions, people to put pressure on their governments to stop arming Israel and cancel military deals, as well as demand officials to push the International Criminal Court to prosecute Israel for war crimes. BDS is a non-violent protest movement that was first launched by Palestinian civil society groups in 2005. The latest conflict has thrust the campaign back into the spotlight and really taken off online. And the targeted boycotts have really begun to bite, impacting big businesses that support or have ties to Israel. The businesses you see on your screen have been in the crosshairs after their outlets in Israel offered free food to the military.
First brand, McDonald's.
McDonald's, I don't think you guys should buy it anymore.
Sally, what do you think about Domino's Pizza?
Domino's Pizza, it's so bad. You guys just make your own at home.
The first brand is Domino's Pizza.
ما تتاكلش معفشة ووحشة معجنة بس.
Mom, you know this brand?
بوما مين بيشتري منهم دولت؟ ما حدش بيشتري منهم أصلاً.
Why are we boycotting Puma? Puma is the main international sponsor of the Israel Football Association. The IFA has teams that operate in illegal Israeli settlements, and Puma holds exclusive distribution deals with companies that operate from that same occupied land. Boycotting means withdrawing all support from a brand, including not buying their products, unfollowing them on social media, and encouraging others to do the same. By boycotting the sponsor of the IFA, it strips the league of its power, which in turn works to delegitimize the occupation. Money talks. If a brand starts losing money and it's clear why, they're forced to make changes. When combined with other forms of pressure, the impact can be far-reaching. For example, in 2018, Adidas ended their sponsorship of the IFA due to global pressure. The BDS campaign has been boycotting Puma for years, and now is the time to get involved if you haven't already.
Social media has been flooded with long lists of companies like this one, which are tied in any way to Israel. But BDS wants you to understand boycotting everything with links to Israel misses the point. It's emphasizing targeted, strategic boycotts because doing that can take a real bite out of a specific company's bottom line, which is why it says focus on this select few to make a bigger impact. These companies are on the BDS's official list. They either sponsor, enable, or normalize illegal settlements, contributing to Israel's decades-long oppression of the Palestinian people, and of course, the ongoing conflict. This group includes companies accused of human rights violations. BDS says SodaStream is actively complicit in Israel's policy of displacing the Palestinians and has a history of mistreatment of and discrimination against Palestinian workers, while Carrefour supports Israeli soldiers participating in Gaza's oppression. Companies in this group, like Google and Amazon, provide critical support to Israeli military and security operations, while these companies are involved in infrastructure and financial support for Israel's illegal activities like settlement expansion.
There's a reason why the BDS movement is asking people to focus specifically on these companies. They have direct ties to Israel. Therefore, boycotting these brands will make an actual tangible impact, especially if people are able to sustain their boycott. If everybody's attention is split amongst hundreds and thousands of different brands and companies, the boycott of those brands and companies will not be successful. We have to act as a unit. If majority of people can agree on which brands and companies to not give our money to, they will feel the impacts of that. And that's what matters more so than being able to boycott every single company on every single list you see out there. Don't distract from the main targets of boycotts.
The BDS movement has been huge on TikTok, where the hashtag BDS has more than 2.9 billion views. The movement takes inspiration from the South African anti-apartheid fight and the U.S. civil rights movement, both of which effectively use boycotts. And if you search the hashtag Boycott Israel, there are 342 million views. And those views and shares have had a real-world impact globally. Many Starbucks outlets have been empty. In some countries like Malaysia, outlets have been forced to reduce operating hours. In Egypt, netizens report that Starbucks has slashed the price of its frappuccinos by 80% in a desperate bid to lure back clientele. Support for boycotts against Israel is part of the big narrative shift in favor of the Palestinians online. The numbers don't lie. Here are the stats to back that up. TikTok has become a big go-to for news. The platform leads in the number of posts on Gaza. The hashtag Free Palestine has more than 28 billion views, 50 times more than the views of clips shared under the hashtag Stand With Israel. On Instagram, more than 6.5 million posts have been shared under Free Palestine, whereas the pro-Israel hashtag has a mere 250,000. The pro-Palestine hashtag has 26 times more posts than Stand With Israel. The same trend persists on Facebook. There are at least 361,000 posts under the hashtag Stand With Israel and more than 12 million posts for Free Palestine. Helping reshape global perceptions on the conflict, Palestinian journalists and influencers who have been sharing their real-time accounts of the realities on the ground in Gaza since day one.
Around me, the whole destruction of the tower, Watran Tower. It's in the middle of the Gaza City, and it's one of the biggest.
So, the 9th of October, it's around 12 a.m. and it's been 10 hours since we evacuated our home.
This is really a genocide. You can see all the dead bodies behind me, all of these casualties. They try to find a safe place in the only Christian hospital in Gaza, Al-Ahli National Hospital, Arab National Hospital.
More than 30 rockets were dropped at the same time at the same area, which means this is a carpet bombing. It's a bombing strategy that prevents any ambulance and anybody to enter the area or rescue anyone.
They bombed the door of the hospital. They bombed. I've been there before 2 minutes.
I'm using a cart so I can reach them as fast as possible.
Hundreds of thousands of people are in tents. They don't have any place to go or in the streets. I'm one of them.
As journalists like Bissander share their struggle, the Italian protest song from the 19th century, Bella Ciao, is again trending across various social media platforms. Meaning Beautiful Hello, it started as a protest song against the harsh working conditions suffered by paddy field workers in northern Italy. The words were updated in the 1940s as it developed into an anti-fascist anthem. It is now sung worldwide by those against repression and brutality in support of peace and liberty. Inevitably, that includes those behind the Palestinian cause.
Mi son vegliato, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao.
This is one of the earliest recordings of Bella Ciao, telling the story of a partisan who dies, presumably at the hand of the invader. He will be remembered for his sacrifice for the freedom of others. It is still immensely popular amongst Italians. Here's a group of Italian tourists last year singing the anti-fascist anthem at an Israeli military checkpoint in Hebron on the West Bank. Since the 1950s, Bella Ciao's haunting melody and heart-wrenching lyrics of resistance have spread worldwide. This is from Sri Lanka, summer 2022. The president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, has finally resigned, and Gotagogama protesters are singing a Sinhalese version. It has been recorded in numerous languages and performed by folk musicians, world music artists, punk rock groups, and electronic dance bands. This version is from the international Netflix smash hit Money Heist. These sisters are singing Bella Ciao in Farsi as part of the protest against the compulsory hijab in Iran. The song has become a de facto resistance anthem in Ukraine. The first locally recorded version, by folk singer Kristina Ivaniva Solovi, appeared on Instagram just days after Russia launched its invasion. Inevitably, it is a favorite among Palestinians and is sung at pro-Palestinian demonstrations worldwide. Beautiful Goodbye in support of the Palestinian cause.
Another symbol of resistance is, of course, the black and white Palestinian scarf, or kufiya. It can be seen at protests across the globe from Poland, Malaysia, and Mexico, with Palestinians online encouraging people to wear it. The scarf can be worn in several ways, as outlined in this clip. It became a mark of nationalism during the Arab Revolt of the 1930s and has been worn for the same reason ever since, most famously by the late Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. In recent weeks, there have been crackdowns globally on people wearing it. In Berlin, schools have banned it. In France, fines of up to $150 have been dished out, and London protesters have been targeted by police for wearing it. Australian Senator Lydia Thorpe wore one when speaking in the Senate to condemn Aussie support for Israel. The kufiya's stitching and design is also emblematic, steeped with deep meaning.
The Palestinian kufiya is a symbol for resistance and strength, and the patterns that are on the kufiya have deep meanings. The two bold lines that you see on the kufiya represent the historic trade route that used to connect Palestine with the rest of the world, namely the Middle East and Europe. And this pattern here represents fishnets. As you all know, Palestine is on the Mediterranean Sea, and fishing is huge for the Palestinians. And finally, you have this pattern here, which represents the olive leaves. And the olive tree, again, is all about, it represents the Palestinian culture, heritage, and identity.
And that brings us to the end of our show. We've been focusing mainly on the events in Gaza over the past month. To find our episodes and interviews, check out our YouTube channel. Goodbye for now.